This is a story called Just Chill, from the subreddit Short Stories, by Christopher Donleona, also known on Reddit as Peaceful-Blu. The blizzard was only supposed to last a few hours, but it had been about 2 weeks of constant snowfall. The white blankets everything in sight, giving new definition to snowblind. The crunching soft ice has become an annoying ambient sound in the background, but Jay doesn't mind as he sits in front of the TV, watching the news spout nonsense about how things are looking up in the next week. Their words exactly, the storm will be gone in another few days, and not a trace will be left of its carnage. An odd choice of words, Jay thinks as he turns his attention to the feed on his phone. The comments section under the weather live have been absolutely tearing the local news station apart. Not that it matters. Jay smirks a little while reading a comment that says, "It will be a hot frozen day in hell when the news actually gets the forecast right." Jay has been enjoying the much-needed time off from school, as his professors have been giving him a hard time because he refuses to participate. It's kind of hard for Jay to want to, knowing all his professors are lying about everything. Though this is an exaggeration, Jay has adopted being a meteorology major. "You interpreted this passage wrong," one literature teacher says. "You have to show the process," the calculus teacher spouts. "Just follow the computer readings," the meteorology teacher rants. "You have to answer when I speak to you," his father says angrily, in a drunken stupor from 4,000 miles away. Jay simply rolls his eyes every time he gets a call like that. "Everyone has such an enormous opinion on everything, but they can't fathom how much I don't care," Jay says aloud. "Is that right?" Sandy, Jay's roommate, says, grabbing a beer from the fridge. "Except you. You don't have an opinion on anything," Jay replies sheepishly. "You know that's right," Sandy remarks, proud of her non-existent pride in anything. "How long are you going to let this go on?" "What do you mean?" Jay asks, feigning confusion. "Don't give me that, Jay. Have you not looked outside? You've had dozens of opportunities, and nothing but time. What's the holdup?" Jay and Sandy have been friends for the better part of 10 years, and she is honestly the only person who is allowed to hold him accountable. Although Jay has a conscience, he often forgoes it if it inconveniences him. So Sandy, not intentionally, has become his voice of reason. Jay doesn't answer, but he does get up and look out the frosted window. The blank snow sits just outside the sill, surprising him a little. After all, their apartment sits 16 feet up, on the second floor. "Maybe you're right, this has gone on for a while. I should probably take action before it's too late," he says, finally responding to his friend. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees a slight break in the clouds, where the sun peeks through, illuminating a bleak, icy wonderland. On reflex, Jay shakes his head no, and just before he closes the blinds, the clouds connect again, blotting out the sun completely. Jay shifts his weight. "Did you change your mind? WTF, man?" Sandy says, watching Jay's posture change ever so slightly. "What?" Jay yells. "Why do I have to be responsible for the fallout? I didn't cause this." "No, but you are the reason it has been prolonged," Sandy yells back to match the energy. Jay doesn't say anything. He just stands in the dimly lit living room, contemplating a reason not to do the right thing. But his conscience has spoken reason he can't refute at the moment. Jay turns to face Sandy and just stares daggers at her. Sandy shivers. "It's not just cold outside. Sheesh, quit your shit." Jay sucks his teeth, finally relenting and allowing the temperature in the room to acclimate to normal. "Fine, I'll make the call in the morning. I don't have it in me to end it now." "I'm going to hold you to it," Sandy scowls, pointing at Jay. She leaves him and returns to her room, which is considerably more cozy than the rest of the apartment, partially due to the sheer number of thick comforters laid about. Jay sits back on the couch and stuffs one hand down his joggers and begins to watch the weather again. The Doppler is indicating the storm is leaving us now. The 2-week-long storm should be gone in the morning. Granted, no other freak phenomenon happens before then, the reporter sighs, undeniably tired of being snowed in at the station for the past couple of weeks. Jay sucks his teeth again. Drunkard. Bloop. A message pops on Jay's phone, from his mother. It reads, "I see you've made a decision." Jay wonders how she always knows what's going on with him long before he actually ever tells her. After sitting for a while, trying to figure it out, he chalks it up to mother's intuition, or something like that. "I wonder how long I could have held out for," Jay says aloud to himself. "Not long without casualties, my guy," Sandy yells from her room, having heard him. Eventually the news ends, and Jay sleepily makes his way to his room. As he crosses the threshold, something changes. Even before he himself knows what happens, it is done, probably even before that. Maybe as soon as he made his mind up about 2 weeks ago. That night his dreams seemed to melt away all his worries, however not completely. At the back of his mind he can't help but wonder if he was doing the right thing, but again as time ticks away, so do his thoughts. The next morning the snow had already begun to disappear before Jay awoke. Ring, 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 ring. Jay's phone becomes an alarm, ushering him partially from slumber. He reaches for his phone and without checking, Jay answers the call. Hello? You have orientation in a week. Be ready, the gruff manly voice says on the other end. What? Jay says, rubbing his eyes, still trying to wake up. Who is this? Don't play coy, the man grunts, as if you don't know. Jay's eyes go wide as he realizes who it is. He hadn't heard this tone from this voice in years. It was almost comforting. Dad? Jay asked half-heartedly. How are you sober, old man? What a rude question, Winter says. I slept it off 30 minutes after I saw it. Saw it? Saw what? After finals, we start orientation. Who said I was taking the job? Jay responds, realizing what's happening. No one. I had a dream you'd accept. It was so pleasant. I won't leave you hanging. I was always going to teach you the ropes. Jay immediately sits up. I thought the job was a fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants thing. No one in the family teaches anyone how to do anything. Winter sighs. Jay, that was never the case. The education system you love so much perpetuates such nonsense, like teaching yourself, even when everyone around you already has the answers. But I thought... Jay starts, but is interrupted. Just because I wasn't able to teach you a lot of things you wanted to know, doesn't mean I couldn't teach you what I know. Didn't I always do my best to teach you the right way? Winter asks. Yes, but I always thought this was different. Trial by fire. Ha ha ha. Quite literally the opposite. Winter laughs. I never bothered to teach you this because you hadn't decided on your own whether or not you wanted it. So if I hadn't decided to take the job, then what? These past 2 weeks would have kept on? Jay asked angrily. Mom told me everything. What you were up to all this time. You drunk asshole. Sorry, Jay, but this ain't on me. I've been doing this job for over 50 years, and not once have I placed a storm where it wasn't supposed to be, let alone one that drops 16 feet of snow in summer, Winter says sternly. This one is on you, kid. Your emotional state and your mental turmoil caused this, not me. What are you talking about? Jay yells, a little fed up. The same thing happened to me when I took over from my mother. When I was about the world traveling, I subconsciously decided to carry on the chill. I dropped 8 feet of snow before I realized, Winter explains. There was a long pause. Jay sits processing the information, knowing his father has an almost perfect record when it comes to this sort of thing. Never once has he seen his father lose control, even at his most drunk. Why didn't you tell me this before? Jay asks. You always had such big ideas about the world. Not that I held it against you, but I figured you'd eventually come to your own conclusion about things. I didn't want to unnecessarily influence you negatively by making your world smaller. But in regards to the blizzard, out of my 8 brothers, I was the one to inherit the chill, and only then did my mother tell me about the family business, Winter explains. But what if I didn't want this? Would I have created storms and unstable emotional states forever? Jay asks, finally awake. That's the thing, kid. It would have never manifested if you didn't want it. The blizzard is the sign of acceptance. But if you so decide you don't want it, truly, the power would fade and pass on to another member of the family, and I will retain the title and the job until they decide they want it, Winter explains. Why was I chosen for this, Dad? Far be it from me to try and explain fate, my boy. But if I had to guess, it's probably because of your love for the cold. Unlike your siblings who adore the heat, you would damn near run out naked when it snowed. You did catch a cold or two because of it, Winter laughs. Jay sits at the edge of his bed thinking back. I was a bit stressed these last 2 weeks. I was questioning everything and everyone, Jay says to his father. Well, you always did have such enormous opinions about everything, and it tends to stress you out, Winter laughs. I guess so, Jay laughs. You still have a lot of time to make your final decision, son. I was a bit overzealous when I said after finals. Nah, you were right. I decided a couple weeks back. I just didn't have the heart to say it until now, Jay says, staring down at the floor. What do you call yourself in this profession, Dad? Winter Frost, Winter says with pride. Your grandmother is known as Morning Frost. So I would be Jack Frost, Jay says. As the last syllable leaves his lips, so too does a visible chill of air. It flows to the window, creating snowflakes on the pane, icing the edges. That was a story called Just Chill. from the subreddit Short Stories by Christopher Donleona, also known as Peaceful-blu on Reddit. Thank you for watching. See you next time.